This is going to be quick, but I found this to be really... This is going to be quick, but I stumbled across this today and found it to be super interesting, so I wanted to look into it a little bit more. For those of you who don't know, diesel burns a high emission rate. So for diesel to be a consumer car, it has to match a bunch of emission standards that it just simply can't really match. And the benefit to diesel is obviously that it gets a better gas mileage. There's a more efficient burn in terms of how the engine works. So there's a interest in making clean diesel burning fuel cars, like regular cars. Now, a few years ago, Volkswagen claimed that it had done that, and they sold tons and tons of cars with clean burning diesel. They would pass emissions checks, and it was later found out that they were implementing things inside of the car that could fool an emissions check, and that the diesel was not clean burning at all, and in reality was not actually passing the emissions test. So they got caught doing it, and then they got caught doing it again. It was a huge deal. They were fined a ton of money for doing so, but largely one of the things that they're forced to do was recall all of these clean burning diesel vehicles that they had been selling for so many years. They inevitably bought back over 350,000 cars. It cost them over $7.4 billion to do, buying all of those back. But what's interesting and what I wanted to show you is that they had to find a place to put all of those, and they're in sort of purgatory. Some of them they, scrapped, some of them they repurposed, but the majority of them they don't seem to have anything to do with, and so they've been storing them in these sort of boneyards, these graveyards for cars, and they are all over the place. They have 37 different storage locations, and they're not any sort of like high facility. They're just things like stadiums in Detroit or, various old paper mill sites. But one of the largest is in Southern California, in the desert in Southern California. Now, to show you that, I first want to take a quick detour. So we have here in Adelanto, California, there's a very famous airport here that serves as a boneyard for airplanes. So you can see a bunch of these are all decommissioned or out of date commercial jets that they just store and figure out what they do with. Either they, repurpose them or whatever is not super clear. Anyways, that's just kind of a fun side note, because just to the northwest of that site is one of Volkswagen's largest boneyards here. You will see this one is over 134 acres, and it's enough to store about 21,000 vehicles. It's massive, it's interesting, and it's in the middle of the desert. But that's it. I mean, it is just a large area of decommissioned cars, and they don't, as of now, have a direct idea of what they're going to do with them. But this has been something that Volkswagen has been battling for years, is the stigma of this and the financial repercussions. Luckily, Volkswagen is the wealthiest car manufacturer in the world, if I'm not mistaken. So even though this was a humongous hit, it certainly didn't take them out in any sense of the term. What is interesting, though, is in the United States, they were forced to put a certain amount of money into clean energy. And so they have secretly been developing a large universal electric vehicle power station, like how you see the Tesla stations, the Tesla charging stations. They have been developing a pretty closely, in terms of size, robust system of these that is universal, unlike Tesla. Tesla's charging stations are obviously specific to Tesla, but Volkswagen has been bankrolling a lot of the charging stations across the United States that other EVs have been using, and I think that's been a nice leg up for some of these other brands who are creating electric vehicles to have some legitimacy, because what Tesla has done financially with their charging stations has taken years and a tremendous amount of money, but they have, for better or worse, put to use a lot of their sort of community service, court-ordered community service, to create a system that allows competitors to compete, and I think that's given a lot of energy to the electric vehicle market. Obviously, Tesla created the sort of EVs being cool. I think they did a lot for that, but you know, I don't know, a silver lining, I guess, to a massive face lie that this particular manufacturer did and got away with for quite a few years. But now they, you know, they're having to solve. They're having to lay in the bed that they made. So that's it. Just thought I'd share that. Thought it was kind of cool.